Well, look at this. We're in a recording studio. Congressman Donovan, Congressman future-elect Donovan.
That's right.
And what are we doing here?
We're recording our song, Stand Up, Go Vote.
That's right, baby. So we're going to consider this part of our podcast. And this past week, we were out at a Back to Blue rally.
Yes.
And you met a lot of interesting people,
Well over 1,000. Well over 1,000 people there were at Gretwick Park.
Now, if you watch
Next to me is Pastor Ron Andrews. He'd like to tell you about the flag.
We all know the American flag, and I love the American flag as most Americans do. And when I look at the American flag, I not only see our country, I not only see the blue for union, the stars for our states, the white for the purity, and the red for the blood that was shed for this nation that allowed these people to do what they're doing. I also see the blue for the skies that God had created. I see the stars that God put in place with his righteous hand. I see the white, that the purity of Jesus Christ. And I see the red as the stripes on his back, that he died for all civilization. I don't see any darkness here like Biden was talking about. I see light. And it's because of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And the only way we can keep this light is to support our police. And I thank my brothers here standing. Because of these men, we're going to make sure that we take this country back. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, amen, you guys.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I just cut the video off.
No, that's fine, but amen to that, I'll tell you.
Thank you.
Amen.
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 God bless America.
Yeah, yes, you're
Look at
right.
the
God
people
bless
here.
America. God bless President Trump and our police officers, man.
Yep.
I tell you.
This is what Biden and the socialist Democrats are afraid of. Look at that.
That's
Massive
right.
people.
Hell yeah, they're afraid of it.
They're going to run away
They're
like scared
afraid.
chickens.
That's why they want that mail-in voting, which is nothing but a fraud. Absentee voting's great.
Yeah.
We know who you are. But, you know, with China sending in 20,000 false IDs, you know what's happening.
Do you even think that some of these, like, MAGA people could even be re-educated?
I mean, we gotta try. I mean, like, in Nazi Germany, after the fall of the Nazi Party, there was a shit ton of the populace that was f***ing Nazified. I mean, like, Germany had to spend billions of dollars re-educating fucking people to not be Nazis. Like, we're probably gonna have to do the same thing here. And that's kind of what Bernie's like, like, hey, free education for everybody, because we're gonna have to teach you not to be a Nazi. There's a reason Joseph Stalin had gulags, right? Mm-hmm. And actually, gulags were a lot better than like what like the CIA has told us that they were. Like, people were actually paid a living wage in gulags. They had conjugal visits in gulags. Gulags were actually meant for like re-education. Greatest way to break a fucking billionaire of their like privilege and their idea that they're superior, go out and break rocks for 12 hours a day. You're now a working class person, and you're gonna learn what that means, right?
Bernie doesn't get the nomination, or it goes to the second round at the DNC convention. Milwaukee would murder. It'll start in Milwaukee, and then when the police push back on that, and other cities will.
If your speech is calling for the elimination of people based on race or gender or religious, like for whatever reason, like things that people can't change, then you should expect a f***ing violent reaction. Mm-hmm. And you deserve a violent reaction.
Be ready to be in Milwaukee for the DNC convention. We're gonna make 1978 look like a Girl Scout cookout. The cops are gonna be the ones that are getting beaten in Milwaukee.
Now, if you watch it on Spectrum, they'll tell you there's only 200, 250 people.
Yeah, because they got there at 5 o'clock when everybody was gone.
But let's show you what else Spectrum also caught.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, one of our shirts that we made.
Right.
For the Back to Blue rally.
Yep. Little child had it on his back.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite.
and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face, and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
And I'm also here, Rick Donovan for Congress. You see this? This is true America. This is the American dream that every one of us want to keep. These socialists are trying to take away everything. From our entertainment, to our religion, to our speech, to our gun rights.
Jeff Capella.
Oh, what's going on? How you doing, brother?
Let them know what we're fighting for.
Oh, I think that this event is here to show solidarity and support for law enforcement officers that are increasingly on the front lines of any number of threats facing this country or the American people in general. That while you have some instances of abuse by a few law enforcement officers, the vast majority of law enforcement officers are stalwart patriots that work tirelessly every day to ensure Americans are as safe as they can be in an increasingly damn dangerous world.
And there's people out there like Brian Higgins and Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and a few others.
All those whack jobs. Yeah, they're all establishment DNC. It's interesting you brought them up. I would contend Chuck Schumer, the likes of Nancy Pelosi, a lot of the DNC establishment, even they have no idea how to deal with the socio-cultural or political monster that they in part created with the radical leftists that are now ascended in the DNC, right? I mean, it's clearly not even their party anymore. Right? I mean, now the Democratic Party is no longer the party, it has not, for years, decades, it hasn't been the party of JFK. And it's not even the party of corrupt crony establishment DNC either. Now it's the party of AOC, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, pick whoever, right? The Gang of Four. And those people will not sit idly by and allow themselves to be told what to do by the corrupt crony DNC establishment that for decades has used them as shock troops for whatever their political agenda is.
Exactly, and that's why we're going to vote Donovan for congressman for the 26th Congressional District.
We need to do this. We need to take back the House. They think that I'm not going to win this seat, but we are, because the Democrats who are registered Democrats, they're also patriots like myself. They know what's going to happen if the socialists get in. No, they'll be defunding the police. There'll be no police. There'll be total anarchy. And we need to keep our freedoms, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights.
I didn't back down from my promises. And I've kept every single one.
This current administration had made hope possible.
We want this nation to continue to be the beacon of hope for the world.
How many people said they're going to leave America if Donald Trump was elected? They're all still here, and they're not going anywhere because we are in the land of the free.
We will never, ever sign bad trade trade deals. America first again. America first.
America's great USMCA trade deal.
This is a big win for the United States of America. This is a great trade deal.
We are going to lift the restrictions on the production of American energy. We will create millions of more jobs.
Hope to me is the belief in a better tomorrow and creating a better future for our children.
When I look in the eyes of my grandchildren, I want them to know that their papa was not silent.
We will rescue kids from failing schools by helping their parents send them to a safe school of their choice. We will completely rebuild our depleted military. The countries that we are protecting at a massive cost to us will be asked to pay their fair share. We will take care of our great veterans like they have never been taken care of before.
This guy saved me.
Yeah.
He saved me. Thanks to him, I'm here.
To me, he's giving people hope, what he's doing for the poor people, what he's doing for everybody.
We are going to appoint justices of the United States Supreme Court who will uphold our laws and our Constitution.
Why supporting law enforcement is so important for keeping America great.
As long as I'm president, I will never defund your police, that I promise you. It's time to deliver a victory for the American people. We are going to start winning again. It's called Promises Made, Promises Kept.
So another thing happened. So I tweeted the president.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Let's show that right quick.
During the pandemic, the QAnon movement appears to be gaining a lot of followers. Can you talk about what you think about that and what you have to say to people who are following this movement right now?
Well, I don't know much about the movement other than I understand they like me very much, which I appreciate. But I don't know much about the movement. I have heard that it is gaining in popularity, and from what I've heard, these are people that when they watch the streets of Portland, when they watch what happened in New York City in just the last 6 or 7 months, but this was starting even 4 years ago when I came here, almost 4 years, can you believe it? These are people that don't like seeing what's going on in places like Portland and places like Chicago and New York and other cities and states. And I've heard these are people that love our country and they just don't like seeing it. So I don't know really anything about it other than they do supposedly like me, and they also would like to see problems in these areas, like especially the areas that we're talking about, go away, because there's no reason the Democrats can't run a city. And if they can't, we will send in all of the federal, whether it's troops or law enforcement, whatever they'd like, we'll send them in, we'll straighten out their problem in 24 hours or less, okay?
Well, at the crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, you know, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there. And we are, actually. We're saving the world from a radical left philosophy that will destroy this country. And when this country is gone, the rest of the world would follow. The rest of the world would follow. That's the importance of this country. And when you look at some of the things that these people are saying with defund the police and no borders, open borders, everybody just pour right into our country. No testing, no nothing. You know, you talk about testing, no testing. Mexico, as you know, has a very high rate of infection. The wall is now going to be next week 300 miles long. Our numbers are extraordinary on the border. And this is through luck, perhaps, more than talent, although the talent is getting it built when one party refuses to allow it. You don't hear talk about the wall anymore. But I will say this, we need strength in our country, not weakness.
Rescue missing Metro Atlanta children and reunite them with their loved ones is ending.
Operation Not Forgotten stretches across our part of the state, hoping to provide answers for parents who have spent countless hours looking for their children. CBS 46's Brittany Etney joins us live tonight with the result of a 2-week mission.
That's right, Sean. 39 missing children were found and 9 arrests were made during this operation. The U.S. Marshals Service tells us that 26 of those children were rescued and the other 13, they were located and they were made sure to be safe. Well, CBS 46 cameras were there during this mission, and our Megan Packer takes us inside Operation Not Forgotten.
When you think of U.S. Marshals, you probably think of them out catching fugitives. But this was a very different mission, and they gave CBS 46 access to their operation.
Yeah, the pickup order only. There's no active warrants for her.
Our agency has a very good reputation for finding people.
No fences on the backside. We're going to have to cover that 2 and 3 corner.
U.S. Marshals suit up to get to work. They're looking for someone on the run, but not a dangerous criminal.
We're going after children.
This is Operation Not Forgotten.
And oftentimes these children don't understand that we're there to help them.
A massive planning operation behind the scenes was carried out over the course of 2 weeks in the Atlanta and Macon areas earlier this month. CBS 46 was granted access as the Marshals and several partner agencies worked to track down critically missing children. Darby Kirby is the chief inspector of the U.S. Marshals Missing Child Unit.
The child is typically at risk for some type of crime of violence. Crime of violence meaning child sex trafficking, child exploitation, abuse, or there's an elevated risk factor to that child, meaning they might need medication or there may be mental health concerns.
On this day, Kirby and her team found a 17-year-old girl who ran away from foster care. She was with a convicted felon who had a gun. They removed her from a potentially dangerous situation.
We have to take on more of like a protector role, more of a guardian. We have to remove that child from that situation and then explain to her, hey, this is why we're here. We're here to help you.
Kirby says many of the young people they're tasked with finding in these cases come from a life filled with trauma, including physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, making it even more critical for them to get to safety where they can begin to heal. The U.S. Marshals Missing Child Unit has helped find more than 1,800 children in the last 5 years. And after this Georgia-based operation, they can add dozens more to their list. Megan Packer, CBS 46 News.
Adult film star Ron Jeremy is now facing additional sexual assault charges. The criminal complaint was amended today against the 67-year-old, charging him with 20 additional counts involving 13 women dating back to 2004. One of those incidents involved a 15-year-old girl. Jeremy was charged on the original sex assault charges back in June, and he is set to be arraigned today on the new counts. If convicted, he could face 250 years to life in state prison.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a total surprise with that, right?
Oh, yeah. Because in 2 days he was saying it himself.
Saving the world.
Mm-hmm.
Always out saving the world.
Always out saving the world is our President Trump.
Hey, we're going to cut to something special in a minute. You have some Army tanks or something? I saw you pull up in big rig material.
Oh, yeah.
What was up with that? I saw you pulling up.
Well,
you want to tell the people anything?
Well, you know, I guess at that time I was on a Deuce and Ave, and I guess I'm declaring war on Brian Higgins. I'm going to win this race.
That's
and
what
new
we're
people
about.
out there are going to help us and help me. Help Jazz Miles win the 141st Assembly also.
Now, what's the name of the studio we're at right now? The Sound Lab, you said?
The Music Lab.
The Music Lab, and it's within your district. We're
It's
in Niagara Falls.
City of Niagara Falls.
Yeah, on 24th Street.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a good guy out there with us that's about to set our song up for us.
Yep.
We just wanted to get our podcast into you.
Mm-hmm.
You know I got to give you some Hillary Clinton information.
Just want to make a quick video here where a good friend of mine just sent me this. This is pretty huge, I would think. This is the records that were related to Comey dismissing the Clinton case. And if you come down to page 21 here, In these records, in his own notes, it says child crime folders. 5 folders on child crime. So who knows what's in this, but man, these need to be made freaking public. You're telling me that an elected official has 5 child crime folders that you were looking through and you didn't find the need to investigate this for any further? This is freaking crazy, man. All right, this was dismissed. This is from May of 2017. So this is just their guys running cover for them as always. Just like when you look at the Whitewater case, all right? Here's a special committee to investigate Whitewater Development Corporation related matters back in 1996. Oh, and look who was one of the deputy special counsels, James B. Comey. How fortunate that they always have this guy is one of the ones looking into them. And this is reminiscent of the June 2018 Department of Justice OIG report, where if you go down to page 293 in Coleman's notes, it has Anthony Weiner, right? And then it says it was texting a 15-year-old, sexually explicit, right? So that's Weiner's crime against children. And if it comes down here, the last 2 lines are Hillary Clinton and Foundation, crime against children. So I imagine this is coming from the same thing. And of course, Comey's playing dumb. Oh, I don't recall the briefing by Coleman. Well, funny that it's right in your own freaking notes. Which then, this comes out just the other day, again in line with all this, that Ghislaine Maxwell's nephew had actually worked under Hillary Clinton at the State Department. What a freaking coincidence. That he had served as a staff assistant from May 2009 to June 2012. Which, thanks to this resurfaced report from NBC News back in 2013, if you remember, Hillary Clinton was already caught covering up pedophilia charges while in the State Department.
Breaking news out of Washington, some serious allegations this morning facing the State Department.
That's right. According to internal State Department memos, the agency might have called off or intervened in investigation into possibly illegal and inappropriate behavior within its ranks, allegedly to protect jobs and avoid scandals. This concerns the time that Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. We want to get right to NBC's Chief White House correspondent Chuck Todd with the latest. Chuck, good morning to you.
Good morning, Savannah. You know, there's an old saying in Washington that the cover-up is worse than the crime. But in this case, both parts of it are disturbing. Allegations of prostitution and pedophilia, and allegations that those crimes were somehow covered up or not looked into. So the State Department this morning is having to respond to those claims and those investigations of misconduct by State Department officials, including by an ambassador and security agents attached to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And the allegations are that these investigations were whitewashed, quashed altogether, and that those orders came from high up.
NBC News has obtained documents related to ongoing investigations into some disturbing allegations involving State Department personnel and at least one ambassador. A State Department memo says the ambassador, quote, routinely ditched his protective security detail in order to solicit sexual favors from both prostitutes and minor children. The memo also says a top State Department official directed department investigators to, quote, cease the investigation into the ambassador's conduct. It's just one of what another document describes as, quote, several examples of undue influence from top state officials.
Says a lot of things they're racking up here, okay? Crime against children in the OIG report, confirmed now by Comey's actual notes released by the FBI. We know that he was deputy counsel in the Whitewater case, so you make what you want of that. And she had Ghislaine Maxwell's nephew working for her from 2009 to 2012. This is not to mention when their friend Laura Silsby got arrested trying to take 33 Haitian children out of Haiti during the chaos of the aftermath of the earthquake, and that it was Bill Clinton who actually went down to Haiti that asked them to release her, or that after that, Laura Silsby, or Gaylor now, got a job at AlertSense, which is the company that makes the tech for Amber Alerts. So that's good. And all this should come as no surprise, being that Jeffrey Epstein helped furnish Bill Clinton's White House Oval Office, okay? Here's a thank you letter for him. We thank you for this contribution, which will be used solely for the benefit of the White House, primarily to assist in the funding of cost refurbishing of the Oval Office in the West Wing and certain areas of the executive residence. Wow. Thanks, Jeffrey Epstein. So again, just one more piece to the disturbing puzzle that is the Clintons.
What difference at this point does it make?
And before I go, I would just like to say really quick a big thank you to all my Patreons and PayPals. You guys are really awesome.
Yeah, we're going to declare war on Brian Higgins. That's what we're doing. Declaring war on Brian Higgins and the Socialist Party that he represents. Look at all these people around today. This is America. This is the people that want our freedoms and to keep our freedoms. This is no joke, people. You need to get out and vote. And this is Rick Donovan running for Congress, the 26th Congressional District, which is all of West Seneca, Cheektowaga, Buffalo, Lackawanna, North Tonawanda, Niagara Falls, Grand Island, and West Seneca. Get out there and vote. Go to my page and donate. Need some money to beat this guy, and he is beatable. Thank you. All right, brother. And don't forget to stand up and go vote.
Altercations still happening.
Segregate, just like women, help make America great. We are all in this together. Colors are red, white, and blue, and they stand for every one of you. And together is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make America great. Woo! Everybody sing. From the hate, we're all human, and we don't segregate, just like women. Help make America great. We are all in this together. Everybody sing M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. Black, white, and brown, from every city and town. We don't let haters keep us down. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. The American crowd, patriotic and proud. Shout it out loud. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. Let them hear our voice, all you girls and boys. Stand up and make some noise. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. The American crowd, patriotic and proud. Shout it out loud. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A.
So I want to address what is quite clearly fake news. The story in The Atlantic has been categorically debunked by eyewitnesses and contemporaneous documents. The Atlantic claims, quote, when President Trump canceled a visit to the Aisne-Marne American Cemetery near Paris in 2018, he blamed rain for the last-minute decision, according to The Atlantic, saying the helicopter couldn't fly and that Secret Service wouldn't drive him there. Neither claim was true, says The Atlantic. That has been debunked. Behind me, you will see an email from one of the president's military aides that clearly reads, "We are a bad weather call for today's lift." The Atlantic reporting is based on 4 cowardly anonymous sources who probably do not even exist. Meanwhile, within hours, 10 sources, 10, went on the record debunking these lies, 8 with firsthand knowledge, stating on the record one common truth, that this story is false. It never happened. Adding to the 8 that were previously counted, I'm bringing you 2 new ones. One is from Derek Lyons, staff secretary and counselor to the president, who says this: I was with the president the morning after the scheduled visit. He was extremely disappointed that arrangements could not be made to get him to the site and that the trip had been canceled. I have worked for the president for his entire administration. One of my responsibilities is working with him on the many letters he signs to the families of our nation's fallen heroes. In all my time at the White House, Derek writes, I have never heard him utter a disparaging remark of any kind about our troops. In my view, he holds the brave men and women of our armed forces in the highest regard. I also bring to you today another quote from a former member of this administration, Dan Walsh, former Deputy Chief of Staff, who is also a retired military officer. I got off the phone with Dan just before coming out here, and he wanted me to share with you all, I can attest to the fact that there was a bad weather call in France and that the helicopters were unable to safely make the flight. Overall, the president's support and respect for our American troops, past and present, is unquestionable.
What rank was he in?
He was a staff sergeant
Right behind you,
and
sir.
all, not a general, not
okay.
anything like that, just a staff sergeant, a platoon sergeant.
You take care of yourself.
Thank you so much.
You take care of yourself, okay?
I so appreciate you, and you too very much.
President
Thank
Trump,
you so
my
much.
son was killed in
Thank
action
you
on
so
9/11,
much.
2008. He was a
Pardon
U.S.
me?
Navy SEAL.
Absolutely.
And
A
in
yellow rose
Afghanistan
to remember.
on a night mission.
Hopefully this
He was shot.
Jimmy. He knew
Going
he
in
was
the
going to
compound, and he
die.
saved his team.
He knew he
And
was going
took
to
the
be
hit,
killed
and he died
and wasn't coming
that
home,
night.
and he asked you not to be forgotten.
You take care. He's looking down.
Jimmy
He's very
now
proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Just
Thank you for everything you're doing for the country.
You know, they're looking down.
Very much. Jimmy knew he wasn't coming home. Jimmy knew he
He knew
wasn't
it.
coming home. And he said he said, Mama, I hope that people don't forget that I ever lived. And if you could remember just Jimmy, that would mean so much to me. I was a Marine as also, and a Marine and mother of a Marine. It would mean so much to me, sir.
We will do it.
Destroy him. And I had Melissa Tate talk about this. The Democrats and their media's latest vets hoax is going to be the latest to fall flat on its face. If you're going to lie about something, at least lie about something believable. I also have 4 anonymous sources confirming Joe Biden is a space alien. And the president said on this remark, thank you, Mark. Mark Simone said, I remember when President Trump met a veteran wounded so badly that he had no arms. The president reached out and touched his face so he would feel the human contact. Absolutely amazing. Who can forget this from Benny? Actions speak louder than words. And there's our amazing president giving hugs to this family, to this veteran. Absolutely amazing. That's our president. How many of you seen give hugs and hold families so closely? Absolutely amazing.
$25 million American veterans, and Michelle Obama burns the flag in front of all of them and their sacrifices. All this to a damn flag. All this to a damn flag. But wait, you say, the title bar was in the way. I couldn't really see. Well, here you go. And then to go on and see what our president's really worth. A snicker. A joke. That's funny. Well, not for most Americans, it's not.
And let me tell you something, for the first time in my adult life, I am proud of my country.
The executive director of the Trump Diversity Coalition tells OAN that President Trump's percentage share of the African American vote is likely to rise into the upper 20s this election. Here's One America's John Hines.
As the Republican National Convention comes to its end, for you, what are the headlines?
Oh, the headlines is hope. I mean, you know, prosperity, cheering the great nation and not the doom and gloom, unlike what we saw last week with the DNC.
So patriotic, inspirational, full of opportunity and hope, but for African Americans as well, you're saying. Is that right?
Oh, I'm so excited. Listen, let me tell you something, John. I said this before on your show a couple of times. 2020, November 3rd will be a game changer. You know, remember now, President Trump got the third highest black vote turnout in the nation's history. You know, he had Lincoln and, of course, Nixon and now President Trump. I think he has a chance to go even further than that, to double it, John. And I'm going to tell you why. The policies, he's been a catalyst in terms of when he says, what the heck do you have to lose in some of these underserved communities where the predominantly black Americans live, the opportunity zones. John, for example, I have a good friend that's building a retail shop right now in Fayetteville on a private partnership in the opportunity zones. I have another business colleague who's building this beautiful, I'll say it, raised seafood.
Hi, Rick Donovan for Congress, 26th District. I'm here today to talk about the hypocrites in government. But first off, what I'd like to talk about is the main thing I want to do is when I win Congress, the 26th District. The first thing I'm going to do on the floor of Congress and the House of Representatives, my legislative act is to remove New York City from the rest of New York. Now let me tell you something. What's going to happen? When that happens, New York City is going to pay for our water, they're going to pay for our natural gas, they're going to pay for our electricity, there'll be no more stupid mandates on small business, we'll be able to frack, our school system, there'll be school choice. It's going to be just a win-win-win.
This is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop, and they should not.
These people are tearing up our livelihood.
The third straight night, Portland police declared a riot.
The vast majority of the protest has been peaceful.
Over the weekend, 59 officers injured and 47 people arrested.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announcing a proposal to cut $1 billion from the New York City Police Department.
We need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
This has been declared a riot.
You won't be safe in Joe Biden's America.
Right?
Altercations still happening.
all in the same boat. We're together, we're united folks, and we won't let them divide us. Young men, walk away from the hate. We're all human, and we don't segregate, just like women. I'll make America great. We are all in this together. Everybody say M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. Black, white, and brown, from every city and town. We don't let haters keep us down. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. The American crowd, patriotic and proud. Shout it out loud. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. Let them hear our voice, all you girls and boys. Stand up and make some noise. M-A-G-A, the American crowd, patriotic and proud. Shout it out loud. M-A-G-A,
Talk about the hypocrites in politics. Number one, about the COVID.
A new study from medical researchers at UCLA and Stanford universities finds the chances of contracting or dying from COVID-19 are much lower than previously thought. One America's Pearson Sharp explains.
A new study from medical scientists at UCLA and Stanford University finds the likelihood of contracting the coronavirus is much, much lower than previously thought. The study, published in late June, says the current probability of becoming infected, going to the hospital, or even death from COVID-19 is, quote, an extremely rare event. The study goes on to say that people are vastly overestimating their chances of getting sick and going to the hospital, especially here in the U.S. As part of the study, doctors reviewed public cases of infection in 100 of the largest counties across the nation. They found that an average person in an average county has a 1 in 3,836 chance of getting infected with the coronavirus, and that's without wearing a mask or doing any social distancing. Even the odds of being hospitalized are vanishingly small, even for someone who's in the at-risk category. For an average person between 50 and 64 years old, the chances of getting the virus and needing hospitalization are 1 in 852,000. And for that same person who's at risk, the chances of dying from coronavirus are 1 in 19.1 million. And those figures were for the last week of May, when deaths from coronavirus were 16 times higher than they were last week. Doctors say they were shocked to find out how low the risk of coronavirus really was. It's worth mentioning that compared to the risk of dying from coronavirus, which again is 1 in 19 million, the risk from dying in a car crash is 1 in 114. These figures come after a revelation from the CDC itself that of all deaths attributed to the coronavirus, just 6% actually died from the virus itself. The other 94% had severe underlying medical conditions. Combined with this latest data, the case for keeping the country locked down falls apart and reveals the risk to the American public appears much lower than so-called experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci had claimed. Pearson Sharp, One American News.
Every one of us, hey, we have to wear a mask, our bars are closed, our small business salons. Look what's happening. We just found Como recently, like last week, walking his dog without a mask. There was another picture of him with a group of people, no mask. Chris Como, remember when he was down in his basement doing his CNN political stuff? Well, he was caught in the Hamptons checking out on his property, and then a civilian questioned him and said, hey, ain't you Chris Cuomo? Well, the next day he was cured. And now we got, and this is a big one for the ladies out there who like their hair done. All the salons were closed for so long. I couldn't even find a place to get a haircut. But here we go, Nancy Pelosi. She has these people open up their store that's closed. She goes in there, doesn't wear a mask. I'm just saying, America, you know, open your eyes and see what's happening. Another thing that's happened, hypocrites. The Democratic Party. Democratic Party, they defended slavery. They started the Civil War. They opposed Reconstruction. They founded the KKK. They imposed segregation. They perpetrated lynchings. They fought Civil Rights Act. They created the crime bill in '94. Biden, that was you, wasn't it?
We must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents, it doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no...
To weigh in. Senator Biden... No. I want you to weigh in.
Don't do it. No. Don't make me speak.
I want you to. Go ahead.
I was the fellow who, in the so-called Biden crime bill years ago, put 100,000 cops in the street that the Clinton administration made work incredibly well. I do have a record of significant accomplishment. The crime bill, which became known as the Clinton crime bill, was written by Joe Biden, the Biden crime bill. I have experience of doing that. I did it on the crime bill. It was the Biden crime bill that became the Clinton crime bill that allowed him to do that.
Well, that's what I've done my whole career, Gwen, on very, very controversial issues, from dealing with violence against women to putting 100,000 police officers in the street to
The Violence Against Women Act, the crime bill. I was passing the crime bill. Right. I was passing... Yeah, you're right.
That was you, Biden. And you put a certain group of people in a bubble. And how many, and let's just say it, they were black people that you focused on. And you call them predators. And then, wait, let's say, I think it was 97, Hillary Clinton said the same thing.
Called out President Clinton for defending Secretary Clinton's use of the term super predator back in the 90s when she supported the crime bill. Why did you call him out?
Because it was a racist term and everybody knew it was a racist term.
Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. 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 That is your position, then I will talk only to white people.
I'm a super predator, Hillary Clinton.
Okay, fine, we'll talk about it.
You apologize to black people for mass incarceration.
Now, they said, bring them to heel. Hillary Rodham Clinton. What a hypocrite. And they want you to think that if you don't vote for this, you're not black. I don't even think that, you know what? We're all Americans. There isn't any color. Whether you're Asian, you're black, you're white, American Indian, Asian Indian, whatever, Hispanic, we're all Americans. They're duping us. They're putting us and turning us against each other. And look what just happened in Rochester yesterday or the day before.
Nobody's hurting y'all. We're shutting the party down. Nobody's gonna touch you. We're shutting your party down. Calm down. Calm If you don't give us our shit, we'll shut shit down. We shut shit down. We shut shit down.
BLM went in there and they turned over a restaurant. People were sitting there eating and they're throwing the plates on them. And they tore up the whole place. Nothing said about that. Where are you, Mr. Como? And you talk about COVID. Remember, Mr. Como, how many elderly you put to death when you sent all those people from the hospitals back to the nursing homes. But yet you're out there with no mask. You know what? It's time to wake up, America. It really is. Find out more. Flexit, www, where we go one, we go all. And don't forget to vote for Rick Donovan for Congress and my good friend Jazz Miles for the Assembly of the 141st here in the city of Buffalo. God bless America.
You're a about to get a shot because you got the flu. And if you don't take the shot, they look at you with hate, saying, why don't you want to trust Dr. Bill Gates? Well, this is my life, you better treat it as such. Don't touch, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. Stand up and go low. Stand up and go low. Stand up. About to take you for a ride. Stand up, stand up, stand up, don't
running for Congress. I want everybody to stand up and go vote. That means get up and go to the polling station and vote. Because I'm declaring war on Brian Higgins for Congress. And I'm going to win. God bless America.